So, good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the North West and West Cambridge Community Forum. I'm Philippa Kelly. I'm the Strategic Sites Manager for the Greater Cambridge Shared Planning Service. This Community Forum is being jointly delivered this evening by South Cambridgeshire District Council and Cambridge City Council. It brings in line with other City Edge forums, for example, at North East Cambridge and Cambridge East. These community forums for new neighbourhoods arise from growth in Greater Cambridge. They bring together residents, council officers, councillors, developers and other stakeholders together to raise issues and discuss how the developments are moving forward. Forums provide an opportunity for discussion and information sharing, but they're not part of the formal planning process. You'll notice that tonight we're using a different online platform with Teams. However, the meeting will follow the same format as previous online meetings, and hopefully this will be a seamless transition. Please note that the forum is being recorded and it will be available on the City Council's website after this event. Now, can I ask if any elected members are present from either the District Council or the City Council? And if you'd like to make your presence known, could you raise the hand function, please? Just wait a few moments to see if anyone wants to make themselves known, or perhaps we don't have any members joining us just yet. Nope, doesn't look like it. So moving on now. The agenda for this evening has updates in respect of the two main residential sites and also an update on community activity. In respect of Darwin Green, we have Adrian Jarman from Barratt David Wilson Homes. For Eddington, we have Matt Johnson from Cambridge University. And for the community development update, we have Susan Jackson, the City Council's Community Development Officer. We also have representatives present from key stakeholder organisations who are available to respond to any questions which may be raised during the course of the evening. Thank you to all our partners for supporting this forum, and thank you to everyone presenting. So in terms of general housekeeping arrangements, questions relating to the presentations or the wider development of this area can be written in the Q&A function, or alternatively, you can raise your hand at the end of each presentation. If we're unable to answer your question, we will provide a written response after this meeting, and that will be shared on the forum's website. And a final note, we do have quite a tight schedule for this evening. I'm keen to ensure that we keep to the allotted times for each of the updates, and this may mean that I might have to move on to the next update before all questions have been answered. If that is the case, I will endeavour to ensure that outstanding questions are then picked up as part of the general question and answer session at the end of this forum. So as we move now on to the sites update, I'd like to remind speakers of the importance of sticking to their time to allow the forum to run smoothly and to allow enough time for questions. So I'd first like to introduce the first update in respect of Darwin Green 1, and that's from Barratt David Wilson Homes Operation Director, Adrian Jarman. Over to you, Adrian. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippa. I will just share. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Adrian Jarman, for those that don't know me, and I'm the Operations Director of BDW Cambridgeshire, and this is the Darwin Green update. So just an update on where we are for the demolition. So the demolition works to phase 1 have now been completed and are signified by the purple arrow as indicated on the plan. The phase 2 demolition works have now commenced and are making good progress, and the remaining blue arrows on the screen, that's phase 3, which is yet to start. The demolition contractor at the present time is targeting an end of April completion for the full demolition works. Just a little bit more of an update. We delayed the demolition works to phase 2 as the original approval as the green line had the scaffold structure, which as you can see here below. We decided that in our opinion, we decided to extend the screen, which would offer greater protection to any existing residents currently on BDW1, which is situated here. And we also upgraded the debris netting, as you can see in the diagram below. As a result of upgrading the debris netting, this resulted in a design alteration which added 60 tonne of steel tube to the actual structure due to the wind loadings that we had to achieve with the revised design calculation, to which we thought this was prudent in the effort to maintain our relationship with the customers on BDW1. Onto BDW2, the area highlighted in green. This area, as previous, we were just about to start the piling works in that area. That is now complete, and our civil engineering contractor has made good progress in constructing the foundations and floor slabs in the whole of that area, and they're just about to get finished in that whole area. And we've actually commenced brickwork on the superstructure new build of the properties just here, and we're expecting those to be handed over to our first completed new homes for occupation in October 2024. BDW4, which is the other side of the Central Park. Again, the road and sewers have commenced to roads 5 and road 3. Piling works have been undertaken in the area adjacent to the Central Park, and we anticipate that our Brick Lane contractor will commence superstructure brickwork on the apartment blocks in May 2024. We would anticipate our first legal completions for the apartments which are overlooking the Central Park to be in May 2025. Since the last meeting, during conversations that I've had with John Shuttlewood, we've undertaken a series of ditch maintenance works to the previously reprofiled ditch. This is just to maintain the ditch fully operational and free flowing. We've now entered into a maintenance contract with a contractor to undertake clearing works twice a year to enable the ditch to keep in the state it's currently in. Sports pitches, again, ongoing maintenance is still being undertaken on a monthly basis. We're targeting Sports of England independent sign-off in the autumn of 24, and we anticipate that the pitches will be available for use early in summer 2025. The retail units below the local centre apartments, again, we're still marketing these via Savills, and over the last 6 months, we've continued to have interest for the retail units from barbers, cafe, coffee shops and convenience stores. Whilst there is a lot of interest, this is yet to formalise into any formal offers at present. Just an update really on the temporary footpath link. We've received a number of queries via our media partner Meeting Place regarding the opening times for the footpath. Just want to reiterate the opening times that we communicated back in October when this footpath opened, that the footpath would be open in an evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Then on a Saturday from 1 p.m. through to Monday morning at 7 a.m. Whilst the demolition works are being undertaken, the footpath will be closed at all other times. We feel as though this is a health and safety risk, and at this time we wouldn't be willing to open it for school times for the morning and the afternoon. As we've maintained all the way through this process, we will undertake an assessment following the completion of the demolition works to see if it is feasible to open and there is no risk to health and safety. Next steps, So the library, the lease for the library building is close to being finalised, to which we'd expect this to be signed by all parties by the end of April. Upon the execution of the lease, we will commence the snagging process for the building, with a view to formally handing over the building to Cambridge in early 2024. Sports Pavilion, final designs of the Sports Pavilion is close to being finalised with Premier Modular to enable the off-site manufacture to commence. We're still working through a number of pre-commencement conditions before we can commence any groundworks on site, but we're still targeting the completion date of June 2024. Excuse me. The tennis courts started in November, as we previously advised. The works are progressing well, and the tarmac surface course will be laid shortly. We're still on target for a completion for March 2024. The balancing pond, just as an update, we're currently working through a number of pre-commencement conditions to enable works to commence. We're expected to commence the construction of the new balancing pond in April, with a view to having the works completed by the end of July. That concludes our presentation. So any questions?
Thank you, Adrian. That was a very useful update. Before I open questions to the floor, and I note that a number of you have raised your hands, I'll come to you in a moment. I'd just like to ask my colleague John Shuttlewood, who is the Council's Principal Strategic Sites Planner with responsibility for Darwin Green, to step in. John received some written questions this week in relation to the drainage ditch on BDW2, and I would like to give John the opportunity to provide a summary of that question and your response for the benefit of everyone present this evening. John, are you happy to provide the update?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Philippa. Good evening, everybody. John Shuttlewood, Greater Cambridgeshire Planning Principal Planner here. The people who have obviously asked the questions have received a detailed response to date. So this is just a summary for yourselves. So the first question was raised about the drainage ditch maintenance going forward, which Adrian has touched upon. Photos have been sent of the works taken to date, and Adrian has spoken about a contract being in place for the 3 monthly works. I am going on site every week to basically have a look, and I intend to have a look actually in the next week, as an issue has been raised very recently regarding one particular section of the ditch, which I'm sure we can sort out. We have received the second question regarding the drainage system, which is later date on parcel BDW2, and whether the as-built details such as the depths of the drainage pipes were taken at the time of laying back in 2017. I understand that at the time in 2017 these details were not recorded, but I understand that going forward, certainly through the rest of BDW2 and also on BDW4, and I'm sure Adrian can come back and respond on this, Adrian's company intend to employ an independent surveyor to record future drainage levels to date as and when they are put down. So there's a degree of comfort as to what the drainage levels are when they actually be put in the ground. So they should all tally up with what has been passed on the plans. And
that's correct, John. I've spoke to our technical director today about that, and I can confirm that is the process. And ultimately, all the sewers will be up for adoption by Anglian Water, who will undertake a level survey themselves to prove that the gravity and the gradients of the drainage system meet their requirements.
Thank you very much, Adrian. That's very helpful. One final thing, can I just plug my planning drop-in sessions? Also, we're always welcome to come to on Wednesday lunchtimes between 12 and 2 for along the same time as our warm space at Darwin Green Community Centre, which is on Patagonia Way. So hopefully to see as many people here, come and ask any planning questions if you have, come for a chat or come for some tea, coffee and biscuits, and also speak to the members of the community development team there as well. Thank you very much, Philippa.
Great, many thanks, John. Okay, I'm going to turn now to the raised hands. You've been waiting very patiently. Anthony Wallace, would you like to ask your question first, please?
Yes, thanks, Philippa. Mainly to Adrian and yourself. I think John very kindly has been very helpful getting me linked in for this meeting. So John, thanks for all your help. I did finally get on. Very quickly, the ditch, where the Anglian water pipe flows out, away, there's a retaining wall that, because the ditch has now been graded, there's a real risk of that toppling forward because it's already leaning forward. And the ditch now sits quite far back from the first wall, and the water is going to erode behind it. If that happens, it's going to fall across the front of the mouth of the surface water pipe, blocking that ditch very effectively. So I think that needs some urgent attention to repair it, actually replace it with something more appropriate. But also there's quite a lot of debris in front of the mouth of the Anglian water surface water drain. And there's no grid on it. So at the moment, any timber, plastic bags will be swept into the drain and will block it and again cause flooding. So it seems that the grid that used to be over there, maybe in the clearing of it, I don't know, has disappeared. But it's just an open mouth now. And there is bits of concrete and wood in front of it at the moment, which do urgently need clearing. So that was point one. Point two was the existing drains that had been laid on BDW2. I'm sure Anglian Water will want drawings of them before they adopt them. So how they will do that, I'm not sure. But the other question is the heavy plant that is operating in that area. What's being done to prevent that damaging those drains? Because I'm sure it was, looking at the size of the vehicles that are now travelling on that site, moving the earth, that's not what would have been expected, I'd imagine, when those drains were put in.
Okay, so I'll respond. Regarding the ditch, obviously we will get I'll get our technical director to have a look at the retaining wall, and we'll take a look at the ditch. And obviously if there is any debris, then we'll remove that, and we will look at the outfall. Again, I've not been there for quite a while, but we will investigate that and come back.
Thank you.
Concerning the drains under the road, we construct a number of developments across all our sites with heavy excavators that travel on those existing roads, and there'll be no harm to the drainage that is underground. Some of those sewers could be between 2 and 5 meters deep, and they will be backfilled on the trenches with stone. And then you've got a full capping layer with 2 layers of tarmac on the road. There'll be no danger to those sewers at all.
Okay, now thank you. It's just that obviously I was just thinking it's unusual to have sort of demolition taking place after they've been put in, and that was just a concern. I think is that is the risk of damage, because I know you're taking a lot of time to monitor the vibration, which is great, but it does suggest there's probably more movement going on than there would be under normal traffic.
They wouldn't be. I mean, if you look at the Moxie dumpers that are travelling through the development, that would be no different to a fully loaded bin lorry that will be travelling on the road when the the development is complete. So from a tonnage of weight of vehicle, there's potentially more in a bin lorry than there is for moving any off-site muck.
Well, thanks for reassuring us. I hadn't sort of appreciated quite what the weight of a bin lorry was, but that's very helpful. Thanks.
Many thanks for clarifying, Adrian. And I'm going to move swiftly on to Pip Evans. Would you like to ask your question now, please?
Thank you, Philippa. Well, just one small thing came up during Adrian's presentation, which isn't my main question, but John Shuttleworth said, and that's what I've always understood from the plans, that the maintenance of the ditch was supposed to be 3 monthly. And indeed, from what Adrian's been saying, the fact that it hasn't been checked, as far as I can see, since it was built or upgraded last year, clearly, if we've got debris in the mouth of the outflow and we've got a retaining wall potentially collapsing, we're potentially back to no drainage, which is no good at all. The plans and everything say 3 monthly, but Adrian, you said 6 monthly maintenance contract has been put in place, and I don't think that would be enough on our experience to date. So I would want to flag that up, because if it says it's 3 monthly, it needs to be 3 monthly. The other thing was just, we keep talking about the big drains, which are obviously enormously important under the road. I am not a construction expert, but what I know from the plans is that underneath the groups of houses to be built on BW2 are very complicated systems for collecting surface water if there is heavy rain, which of course there is lots nowadays, so that that surface water can be taken down to the lagoons, if I've got the right term there. And I'm enormously relieved that John Shuttlewood has said that it will be checked that all of that is working. It's not just the drains, it's the whole of the underground structure, which, as I understand it, the Environmental Agency said we must have to prevent those of us on Woodlark Road and the Square from flooding from this development, which is a real worry in today's climate, but was a worry beforehand even. So very, very important what John has said about that underground whole drainage system has got to be right. So I just wanted to emphasize that, but at a very simple level, just the surface ditch has got to be inspected. And I believe that was 3 monthly. Thank you, Philippa.
Pip, I have no problem if it's 3 months late. We can arrange that. That's neither here nor there. The photos I've just shown you that are on the presentation, those were actually taken 2 weeks ago. So that ditch was completely free flowing.
No, I think
two weeks ago from. So whilst I understand the previous comments that in front of the Anglian water outfall, which is the lowest part for the collector, certainly the full length of that ditch has been cleared of all debris along that full length. So we will go there this week and have a look to see what's there, and that will be removed. But we have no problem with altering the frequency of maintenance to 3 months. That's perfectly fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Adrian, for those reassurances. I'm going to take one more question. We've got one more hand raised. And just a reminder to everybody here this evening, you can ask questions by putting your question in the Q&A function, or you can raise your hand. But I'm just going to take one final question in respect of BDW from David Summerfield. Would you like to ask your question now, David?
Hi, Adrian. I hope you're well.
Yes, I'm good, David. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just a quick question. The weekly updates, we don't seem to be seeing those at the moment. Is it something you're going to pick up again?
It will. They'll probably be monthly, if I'm being honest, David, because there's very little for us to report on at this moment. All we would be doing is filling a form in, just saying no update, no update. It's not like when we first started back in August, where we'd got a lot of complex issues that we had to report on a weekly basis. You know, to significantly bring the project forward. But they will be reintroduced, but more on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Adrian. Okay, so thank you both to Adrian and John for your updates. I'm going to now move on to our second speaker for this evening. This is Matt Johnson, Cambridge University's head. Oh, could I just remind everyone to make sure that their microphones are turned off, please? Just to clarify for those that didn't hear me, our second guest this evening is an update in respect of Eddington from Matt Johnson, Cambridge University's Head of Development.
I hope everyone can see that okay. If not, please do shout. So a brief update and summary of Eddington. Some of you have seen this before, but for those who don't know, this is the 2013 master plan that was consented. And what was consented in 2013 was 3,000 homes, 50% of which were retained by the university as our key worker housing, 2,000 student bed spaces, as well as 100,000 square meters of employment and research space. Phase 1 that's underway at the moment has 1,800 dwellings committed. That's 700 of our university dwellings, which are all completed and occupied and have been so for around 5 years, and 1,100 market homes, of which around 350 or so are occupied at the moment, and the rest are being delivered over the next 2 to 3 years. We've also delivered 325 of the student postgraduate rooms that's occupied by Girton College. And that's in addition to all of our local amenities in the centre, the supermarket, the Stories Field Centre, the primary school, the nursery, that were all delivered at the start of the scheme. Moving into a bit more detail on what's happening on the ground at the moment. So the green plots are those that have planning consent and are currently at different stages of construction. So starting at the south, we have plot S3 or Rubicon, and that's the 5 podiums of glazed brick that you see coming in from Madingley Road. They are all complete now, and Hill have just got their final sales to sort out, but that's now full with new residents. M3 is the plot near Sainsbury's, next to Stories Field Centre. People may recall that that was vacant for quite a while during COVID, but Hill started on that again within the last 6 months or so, and it's now cracking on and is at about 4 stories of concrete frame. We expect that one to finish towards the end of 2025. We have M1, M2, which is Hills Knights Park development, and that completes towards the end of this month. And then next to that, we've got lot 4, which is the other, sorry, I'm just gonna put my laser pointer on so people can see where I'm pointing. Excuse me, lot 4 here, which is the other concrete frame building on the Ridgeway that you can see being constructed at present. And then we have plots S1, S2, which is present made, and they started on site in the last few months as well. And they are building out 373 build to rent homes. A little bit more detail on that one. So this is a little bit historic now. People may have noticed this change happen, but we did move the location of the crossing point on the temporary Ridgeway. So the Hall Road has now moved south slightly, and that was done with a temporary path put in place and no disruption to the use of the Ridgeway. And we recently had the groundbreaking there, and there was some information about the product that Present Made will be offering in the local newspapers. The blue line there represents the temporary Ridgeway and a CGI of what Present Made are delivering. We also, towards the second half of last year, delivered some temporary solar lighting to the Ridgeway, which has been well received. But if people have any feedback on that intervention, please do pass that on. M4, M5, so to orient yourselves, we have Huntingdon Road up here and our sports pitches with the distinctive primary school here. And this is a scheme being brought forward by Durkan. They have started very recently constructing the Hall Road down at Garrard Street, and this was the part of the temporary Ridgeway that was in use for a period of time but is now stopped up, and that's providing construction access to both M3 for Hill and for the construction of the Hall Road for M4, M5. Similarly to what we did towards the Present Made scheme, to the northern part of the Ridgeway, whilst they build the construction of the Hall Road over the temporary Ridgeway, they will put a diversion path in, and that should be happening between now and towards the end of March. And once that's complete and the Hall Road is fully constructed, there will be a permanent manned crossing in this location, so a supervised crossing with prioritisation for pedestrians and cyclists using this route. And then obviously the gates will be closed when construction vehicles need to come across. And again, a bit more information on what they're actually bringing forward. So Durkan will be building 160 homes, a mix of apartments and houses. And you can see the unit mix there and some street scenes of the architecture that they're bringing forward. And another site plan here that shows where they're retaining a lot of the existing mature trees in the centre of the site. In terms of placemaking activity and what's coming up in the near future, so we've got the Cambridge Walking Tall Giraffe Art Trail that's coming forward for the charity break. So I'm pleased to say Eddington is hosting 2 of the large giraffes, one sponsored by the university and one sponsored by Hill. And so we will be part of that art trail that runs throughout the city, and you'll be able to see those from the 21st of March, I believe. We've also got 3 of the miniature giraffes, one of which has been designed and decorated by children at the primary school, so we're excited to see their work on that. We've also got the Cambridge Festival, and that starts on the 13th of March running through to the 28th, and that's again citywide. It's a celebration of the groundbreaking research that the university is doing, and many of the institutions within the university are hosting events. At Eddington, we are hosting an event that will include a tour of the Energy Centre and then a discussion on sustainability topics, mainly focused around heat networks at Storys Field Centre that evening as well. Although I believe that has already sold out, but I think there'll be a waiting list if people want to sign up in case people drop out. And then just an update on our retail openings. So Dulcedo Social on Eddington Avenue, where Dulcedo are moving their operation to, that should open next month. We're very excited about that. Their fit out is complete inside, and they'll soon be taking down the window vinyls and welcoming customers into their larger store. We've got Harvest, who will be commencing their fit out soon, so we hope to see them opening in the early summer. And Harvest, for those who don't know, is an independent organic food retailer who already have premises down on Mill Road. And then just a reminder for people that the Astronomer is now operating within the Hyatt Hotel, and that is Cam's Cuisine, who operate premises such as Cambridge Chop House. And they are doing very well in there, but I invite people to come and have lunch or dinner in their restaurant. And then a brief update on future activity. So at the start of the presentation, I showed the master plan that was consented in 2013. Some of you may be aware that that had a 10-year lifespan on it for the residential elements, and therefore that expired in February last year. So we're now looking to the future and what our plans are going to be for future master plans, and we hope to be coming out and speaking to a lot of you in various different forums over this year to talk about what the university's plans are for the future, and that will include a renewal of the outline master plan consent and also potentially more homes than the 3,000 that we originally got consent for. Within local plan documents, we've identified potentially around 4,500 plus homes coming to Eddington, and for people to understand what that might look like, it would effectively be a continuation of the type of densities that we see at Eddington now. So we obviously have a big mix going from 5-storey apartment buildings down to 2-storey houses. And with that kind of average density rolled out across the developable areas of our site, that would take us well over 5,000 units. So that's the kind of densities that we will be talking to you about in the near future. And there's a few other minor planning discussions that may come forward in the near future as well around our plans for our sports pitches, for example, and what we're going to do to try and improve those. Again, there'll be some consultation events later in this year. Thank you very much. Take any questions.
Many thanks, Matt. Just before I take questions, I just wanted to welcome any of the late joiners into this forum. We've had a number of people join since the meeting started, so welcome to you all, and a reminder to you all that this meeting is being recorded, so if you do have your camera on, this will be included in the recording that will be uploaded to the city's website in due course. Okay, now Matt, we have one person with their hand raised, so I'd like to ask Jenny Blackhurst to ask their question, please.
Thank you, Philippa. Thank you, Matt. I have 2 questions, if that is permitted. Firstly, Matt, you asked for feedback on the solar lighting on the Ridgeway. It is appreciated, but particularly nearer the Bunkers Hill end, people still don't feel safe because the solar lighting is not on for long enough because it's solar lighting. So the quicker we can move to something permanent, the better.
Thank you.
And then secondly, the additional homes that you might put forward for the local plan call for sites, would that be include market homes, or would you want proper key worker homes, or again, would you want them for university staff only?
We're still obviously investigating exactly what the unit mix would be, but our current intention is that it would be as per the original master plan. So 50% market homes and 50% university housing.
Thank you.
And just as a brief response to the Bunkers Hill, we are looking at if there's any further enhancements we can do in a temporary basis, but also trying to make sure that we move along the present May scheme so that we can get a permanent situation there as soon as possible.
Great, many thanks, Matt. It doesn't look like we have got any more questions for you, but if people do think of anything during the course of this evening, please don't hesitate to either raise your hand or to use the Q&A function. So we can move on now if we don't have any more questions. Yep, I'm going to take a decision to move on now to our third speaker. Thank you very much, Matt. Our third speaker is Susan Jackson, the City Council's Community Development Officer. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. You should know quite a few of you, so welcome. I'm just going to share my screen now. I'll try and be quick so that we have lots of question time at the end. So my name is Sue Jackson and I am the Community Development Officer for Darwin Green and Eddington, but also for the wider Castle area. So just my first slide just shows a little bit of some of the activities that we've been doing since the last Northwest Community Forum, and so they've been fantastic. We support groups such as Eddington, we run seed events or test events, we work with partners such as Stories Field and New Life Church, and we can offer one-off celebration events based on the needs and the requests of the community. We had a lovely event around International Potluck meals, which was initiated by a resident. So I'm really pleased that they came forward with the idea. We've got some lovely events coming up, starting a couple of posters there to highlight. We've got the holiday lunches, which is next Tuesday. Everybody is welcome to our holiday lunches. There are activities for children between the first hour, 11 till 2, sorry, and then from 12 till 1 will be the main meal, which is provided by our partners, Cambridge Sustainable Food. We enjoy the atmosphere that these bring, the coming together of everybody. So please do come along and support that. That's open to everybody. And we've got the warm and welcoming mornings lunchtimes in Darwin Green. Thank you for the plug, John. That's happening throughout February, including the half term, and anybody is welcome to come to that. Just to say that we'll be encouraging some street plays within the city for the summer. That will be happening throughout all the wards. So, and we're also going to be running some information evenings in March, one in the north, one in the south of the city, if people have ideas or thoughts that they'd like to run one and would like to be supported by that. So this is what the important thing, community chest funding. So this is some funding that I can assist people with. This is where people come and ask for residents from Darwin Green, residents from Eddington, or even further afield if they're going to run an event within our communities to start new community groups, run an event. But if you have a group already running and just needs a little bit of help, then we can also do that. So how do you apply? Please just contact me in the first instance. I'm going to give you my email at the end of the presentation. And we can just have a chat about it. There is an application form you need to fill in, but and that comes to me, and then me and my team will just ask you some questions if needs be, and then we can pass, once we've ironed out a few of our questions, we can then ask the wider community for thoughts and ideas about this application so that they can offer their advice, but also to make sure there's no duplication. Once the application has been received and approved, the funds will go into the organisation's bank account. But if you are an individual and don't have a bank account, please don't that doesn't mean you can't apply. We'll just partner you with an organisation. And then we like to ask how it's going, and photos are always welcome for that. In the last few months, we've allocated some funds towards the Darwin Green Resident Association. We have an ongoing agreement to fund some of the toy swaps in Eddington, and we've got some applications in the process. If your application is in process and it's not here, don't worry. It probably means that we're just in consultation with you, and just give me an email. You should have it already. So we've got one in Edington, but we've also got a long-standing application that was successful in Darwin Green for a little free library, which is a little bit like the where you can swap books for free at any time. So, but because people's circumstances change, we are actually looking for a new volunteer to come and help us organise that. That would ideally be a resident within Darwin Green. So please put your hands up and volunteer if you can, so that that can happen. We'd really appreciate that. Email me. And here is my email address. I'll just read it out just to make sure that everybody is aware of that, because it is, I am a Sue, but my long name is Suzanne. So it's SUZANNE.Jackson, JACKSON @cambridge.gov.uk. So please to email me with your community ideas. We love to hear them, and we'll try and work through whatever we can. And finally, I'd like to have a massive thank you to our partners. We couldn't run half the events that we do without them. I'd like to particularly thank our residents associations from all over the areas in the Castle Ward, but particularly Edington Residents Association and Darwin Greens Residents Association. They work tirelessly for the areas, and I'm in discussion with them all the time about particular events, and I'm very, very grateful to the support that they give us. These are normally hardworking volunteers, and they're always looking for people to join. So please do volunteer to make your area be as vibrant as and help their residents thrive as much as possible. And thank you all to all the other partners that we work with. This is just a snapshot. There's so many. So I will hand you back now. Thank you all for your time.
Great, many thanks, Suzanne. I'm just checking to see if we have any questions for you. Bear with me, looks like someone has got their hand up. See who that comes from. Bear with me while I just scroll down to see. Oh, no, I am mistaken. No, it doesn't look like we have any hands up. And
well,
we have no questions
I'm happy
in the
to
chat.
have no question. Oh, there is one now.
Oh, yes. Judith Perry, would you like to ask your question?
When you say that you're supporting things mostly in Darwin Green and Edington, does that apply elsewhere in Castle Ward to support community events? Down in the southern corner, there are 3 residents associations: the Benson Street, the Oxford Road, and Windsor Road residents associations. Would you support any events that were submitted from us?
I would love to. The funding that we have is not available to those residents association because it comes from Section 106 money, which is pigeonholed for the developments of Edington and Darwin Green. But as a community development officer, please just drop me an email. I would welcome any partnership with events off Darwin Green and Edington, and we can definitely chat. I would love that. Thank you for that, Judith.
Yeah, so any social events for the community, if they were held down here, could you help or support in any way?
Yeah. What that support would depend on the event, but I'm really open to find out what the community want within the wider Castle Ward, and if I can attend, I will, and if we can support in some way, then definitely I would always have my door open to anybody that wants to email me with their community events. And also I can support with pushing the information over to Edington and Darwin Green. We're hoping to do some welcome packs so that people can be aware of events that are going on in the wider area, including Girton, which is outside the city boundary, I know, but there are very close connections between Girton and Coton and all those areas around people travel in. So yes. Please do drop me a line, Judith. Happy to come and meet for a coffee anytime.
Will the transcripts be available? Because I don't have your email address otherwise. If I don't
Yes, I believe so, but I will endeavour. Yeah, Jo will probably be able to help me with that because she's got her hand up. So I'm just going to hand over to her because she'll be able to tell me how I can contact you directly, Judith.
That would be great.
Hi
Thank you.
there. I just thought I'd just nip in just for a bit of context. So I'm Jo. I'm Senior Community Development Officer for New Communities and Growth in the Community Development team. So I work really closely with Suzanne. And just to provide you a bit of context, we sit in the Community Development team at the City Council, which covers the whole of the city. So like Sue says, although her specific role is around Eddington, Darwin Green, and that funding that she was talking about, the community chest funding she was talking about, is specific to those spaces. It doesn't mean that anybody else in our team might be able to talk to you or help you, or just discuss what you need. And Judith, I think excuse me, I wasn't expecting to talk. Judith, I have your email address anyway, and I hope that you've got mine as well. So we'll just link you in with Suzanne.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Suzanne and Jo. I'm just looking again in the Q&A function, and oh yeah, we do have a raised hand. Bear with me while I just identify who has raised their hand. That is oh well, whoever identifies as computer to guest, you may ask your question now. I'm sorry, I don't have a name for that person, but whoever's raised their hand, please.
Hi,
please
that's fine.
do.
Thank you. The link on your website doesn't work, so I had to log in using something sent from WhatsApp from a residents group. So this is quite a broad question, but based on a lot of residents, energy usage of the homes in Eddington is much higher than it should have been. That's predominantly due to poor quality insulation and construction. The cost of energy from the unit is much higher than a standard boiler. The road through Eddington has become a de facto A road. And in the last meeting, we heard how the developer demolishing new builds in Darwin had not measured or considered carbon footprint. So my question is it still correct to label these developments as sustainable? And if so, on what basis is that measured? Thank you.
I don't know whether Matt wants to come back in with the question about sort of any energy use and the costs, and the questions about the road through Eddington, whether you wanted to take the opportunity to respond there, Matt.
Absolutely. So
on what basis would you determine it to be sustainable as a development? Because that's obviously labeled quite regularly everywhere, in fact.
So to answer your broad question on sustainability, I do believe Eddington is still an exemplar of sustainable development. Obviously, the execution that you're talking about, I believe you're talking about the market home construction, not the queue worker homes, but please do correct me if that's not true. Obviously, the execution is still something that needs to be worked on, if that's a fact in terms of how people are experiencing it. But the aspiration in the designs is all there in terms of sustainability. The heat network, we know, is a challenge. So on the sustainability of the network, obviously when it was designed and originally implemented, it was highly sustainable. And then the very positive news story since then is that the electricity grid has decarbonised significantly. And that now means that a gas-fired combined heat and power system isn't as sustainable as it was when it was implemented. That's obviously something we'll be considering when we move forward into our plans for future homes, to think both how can we improve our heat source in the future, but also what do we need to do in terms of retrofit for what we've got there existing. On pricing, I am very confident that the processes we go through to set the core tariffs are fair. I don't know if you're talking about the price per unit or because the consumption is higher than you'd expect, but I'm very happy to take that offline if you have concerns to raise in terms of the pricing of that. And then on the road, again, I would refute the idea that Eddington's not sustainable on the basis that it has the road transiting through it. The car use from our residents who live on Eddington is astonishingly low, and is probably an exemplar in the UK. Obviously, we do have the issue that there is a road connecting Huntingdon Road and Madingley Road. We've talked about that in various forums previously, and that is a challenge again that we will be considering as part of our planning going forward, but it's not an easily solvable one, because for the time being we do still need vehicle access around the city.
Can I just follow up on the sustainability point? Can you actually point to some data that shows that Eddington is actually sustainable as it's been built as opposed to as it was designed? For example, energy consumption per average household, and can you make that publicly available?
I can certainly find some data on that. I'd have to check what I can make publicly available, because that information I may not have rights to share it. It might be private to the individual homeowners, but I'm more than willing to look into that, and we can bake that into our lessons for future phase delivery as well.
Thank you, Matt. I think that's a question that can be taken away, and perhaps a written update be provided that we can share on the website afterwards. So thank you very much for that question. And noting that the reference was made to issues with joining, I was just wondering whether I could take the opportunity as we come to the end of this meeting to ask participants for any feedback in respect of this new Teams format. By all means, raise your hand if you would like to provide some feedback, or do put some comments in the Q&A, because we're always looking to improve. And as I said at the start, this is our first time using the Teams platform. So if anyone does wish to share either here or provide feedback via email to officers separately, it would be really appreciated. Thank you. So I'm not seeing any new hands up. I'm just going to have a check again while I refresh. Oh, Pip, would you like to come back on the point about experience of joining?
Hesitantly, because I'm not the world's best techie whiz kid, but I can usually get onto things like Zoom quite easily, and it took quite a lot of my afternoon to get through the fact that lots of the apps and the bits and the pieces wouldn't accept me and kept telling me I couldn't have. And like tonight, you said put a Q&A for this, but I can't put a Q&A because it says on this bit of the chat I can't have a Q&A. And several of the ways I tried to go in, having downloaded apps all over the place on a iPad and a PC, it said you can't do this, or you're not a member of this chat, or you don't. And it was about the fifth link that I finally got in. So I get what you're trying to do, but I think certainly we need a bit of help. And I noticed that John had to have some, Anthony had to have some help too. So I think it wasn't just me. And the only other thing I would say is, Philippa, I'm not sure, but are you intending to have all the forums on Teams? Because loads of people just really being in a meeting with other people and being able to chat before and after and so forth. I know it must take your time and everything, but I would put in a plea for this to be a community meeting that we can go to, please.
Thank you, Pip. That's been really useful feedback. Apologies that you had difficulties accessing the link. We will look into that. And officers do agree with you. We share your views that there's nothing better than meeting in person. And I'm really pleased to say that the next forum in June will be an in-person event. We have already got a date. So something for your diary will be Thursday, the 13th of June. That will be an in-person event at Storiesfield Centre. And we'd be looking for to hold a drop-in event before, which have proven very successful in the past. So what we try and do, Pip, is balance between the online events and meeting in person as well. I'm just
thank you very much.
Very welcome. I'm just conscious of time. Can I ask if people have got their hands raised and want to raise anything in addition to what Pip has already raised? I will come to you next. No. Oh, does it look like Jay Cowell? Apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Did you? Oh, no, your hand's gone down as well. So I think we'll certainly take away that feedback about the joining instructions. Oh, no, there's lots of hands up and down. I'm just going to wait and see a little bit. Okay. Judith, Judith Perry, did you want to come back and?
I wanted to vote for alternating online and in person.
Yeah.
Because I much prefer the online.
Yeah, that will be the intention going forward. Thank you. And Jay Kao, apologies with the pronunciation. Would you like to come in?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, so I want to briefly point it to two problems. The first problem is the link that's embedded on your website is in fact a gov.uk only link, and you can only join that if you're already in the chat, which most of the people are not. Therefore, next time you should send the meeting ID and the passcode and probably put it on the website as well. And I do have another question regarding for the general Eddington area. So recently there has been a series of events that has led to much of the stealing of the bicycles. In fact, I have witnessed or heard about people getting stolen bicycles in the area for more than 5 times, specifically in the Rubicon area. I understand is that the university has certain responsibility in terms of maintaining the security and the general living ability, especially in Cambridge if you have bicycles. So what has the university planned on the Eddington security, and what are the future plans for raising, at least trying to prevent people from stealing bicycles around much easily? And in addition, there's also like motorcycles, people racing around Eddington for some period of time.
Thank you for those observations. Matt, do you want to come in with a response?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And I would really appreciate you getting in touch with me offline, because it's the first I've heard of any spike in crime theft, in bike theft, excuse me. Obviously, bike theft is a significant thing throughout Cambridge. It has been for decades. But at Eddington, yes, you're right. The university has some responsibility for security as the estate manager and as the designer. Obviously, crime prevention and enforcement is still the job of the police, and the university doesn't undertake any form of crime enforcement. We don't have those capabilities. I would say as well, Rubicon is not directly managed by the university. There's a block management company with Hill. So that if you're talking about the private parts of Rubicon, again, something for us to take offline. But yes, the university obviously does have a responsibility for that, and we aren't aware of a spike in bike theft. So please do share that information with us.
Just a quick question. How can I contact you? I can put you with a report and a list of these spiking crimes.
Yes, please. So you can contact me at matthew.johnson@admin.cam.ac.uk, but I'm sure my
person. Well, thank you very much. I can find your email on Bluedraw.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Many thanks, Matt. Okay. We're almost at 7 o'clock, so I'm going to start to bring this meeting to an end now. I want to thank everybody once again, all the presenters, panelists, officers and attendees for joining us this evening. And a special thanks from me to the communities teams from both authorities who always work so hard behind the scenes to organise and deliver the forums. We'll aim to have the notes and presentations from today's meeting on the forum webpage within 2 weeks. And I look forward to seeing you all again at the next forum in person at Storiesfield Centre on Thursday, the 13th of June. Thank you and good night to you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.